music going on in the background.
Oh, all right.
Hey,
I guess
what's
we should
up,
do
guys?
this whole thing. What's happening?
How you doing?
Good. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Wheel Wednesday Behind the Wheel podcast live thing. You know what I mean? You get it. Welcome. Listen, for some of their people out there that are active listeners, here's a real random update. We are now on iHeart Radio.
I didn't even know this. Like,
Yeah.
these are things that he finds out, and I didn't know.
Yeah, I find them out like it's not orchestrated. Anyhow, it's there, so we are becoming so easy to listen to.
We're
it's just
everywhere.
ridiculous. There's like no excuse now.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. Now, I want to say one other thing. For first off, the people that are coming over from our Instagram and Facebook Live, shout out to you. You're the real MVP. Today we rewarded some people by showing them a new wheel because we only had like 12 people on, which is pretty low. So we were like, yo, you guys are the real MVPs.
Those 12 people got to see the heliogram. So now you guys have some motivation. Come join us on the live. Why not?
100%.
Be the 14th person. Why not?
Be the 14. So anyhow, with that said, I don't want to spend too much time on it. Don't forget we drop a piece of content on YouTube every single week on Fridays.
Yes.
And we obviously do the podcast here at 3 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. We also do the lives before this on Instagram and Facebook, 2 p.m. Eastern.
This Friday is going to be a cool one, by the way. We actually went to go visit our friends at High Speed Motorsports in Connecticut. Yep. We're going to drop the car walk around of one of the drivers and the owner of the High Speed Motorsports, Hugh Stewart, which he does SCCA. He does a lot of grassroots racing. Really cool M3 that he has that you guys are going to dig. Come check it out. If you're any type of motorsports fan, you'll definitely dig what he has under the hood.
Hugh's an OG. So.
Yeah, for sure. He's an OG
so
for sure.
You got some stuff there. All right, let's get into it, right? With us today is listen, he's one of my favorites.
If you're a dad joke fan,
all right, no. We're not going to start out an intro with an insult.
That's not an insult.
So listen,
how's that an insult?
You're insulting dads everywhere. I'm a dad. I don't like what we just did there. So listen, Hooman Rahimi is he's been a professional drifter for, well, actually, we'll find out exactly how long. I don't want to butcher it, but he is not only is he a cool guy and down to earth, but he's I feel like he's one of us. He's one of us out there. He does it on what I like to call an incredible budget, but he also, when he throws down, it's fun to watch. Man. So let's get him in here. Let's
Formula Drift Pro.
There we go.
ProSpec Driver, Hooman Rahimi. Woo. There he is. He said, "Woo."
Am I on?
You're on. No, this is it. This is all the grand entrance. So welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Excited to be here.
Are you though?
Yeah.
All right. I could take that.
All right. Should I not be? Is something coming? Are you going to send me one of those questions, like stump me? Are you going to stump the driver?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how I could possibly stump you. I don't think I could do it.
Well, the most exciting thing to me is he also brought his esteemed colleague Bill Murray in the background.
Right.
Welcome,
right.
Welcome, Bill Murray.
Yeah,
glad to have you.
This guy was a project to get, by the way. Like I was in New Orleans. I went to a jazz festival there, and there was like a street vendor that was doing street art, and I was like, I really like this painting. I'm like, but I can't carry around this painting the whole time at the jazz festival. So he's like, I'll ship it to you. I was like, okay. It was like, I think $300 shipped, so it wasn't like stupid expensive, but it was like, but I was like, so I'm just giving $300 to this stranger, like hoping that it's gonna, be at my house in a couple weeks, and it made it. So I was like, all right, cool, it worked out.
Yeah, that's I
dig
listen,
it. Listen, I like it.
It's dope.
Yeah, for sure.
I love this guy.
So how awful does it feel knowing that FD is just around the corner and you have to get everything tightened up?
Tight.
It doesn't feel awful, but it is stress. Like, there's stress to it. right now the timeline doesn't feel stressful because we're talking today's the first event for us is May 20th.
Yeah.
May 20th. So we have like 2 months basically. So I'm pretty like open on, and I didn't make a ton of changes. I mostly was fixing the last Irwindale crash. That was mostly what I was doing. So there's not going to be a lot of like, oh, what if I do this or whatever. I mean, I changed a couple parts and a couple like things that we did just for upgrades, and I have like a couple updates to like I'm moving my fuel cell and stuff like that. But those are like, I don't think you're gonna be like, oh man, this I can't figure out. It's something that is there. It's usually when you're like, I got a new turbo set up and now, you know, blah blah blah, or it doesn't kick in, or you know, stuff like that. Especially me, new turbo. Turbo was my first time ever driving a turbo in drift 2 years ago. Like when I built this car, I've never like actually like I've, you know, flipped the throttle and like done stuff, but that was my first turbo build, and that going from NA to, you know,
that's a
850 horsepower turbo, it's a big learning curve, especially like when I had the 5.3 engine. Now I have the 6.2. It's a big difference, but yeah, that was a learning curve. Like it was literally like clutch kick, like a team yelling at me like all the time, just clutch kick. And I'm like, okay, learning.
Yeah, no, for sure. But so first off, if you know, we should have probably queued up some B-roll, but your crash last year was a pretty decent hit. I mean,
yeah, it hurt, like physically me.
Yes.
So that usually they don't hurt.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. So I think people, when they think drifting, if you're the average person, crashing, bumping, you know, careening out of control at random points, it's not something that when it happens is so off pace that you're like,
right,
wow. But in the same respect, it's really, for the most part, I will say that a lot of accidents happen and people are a lot of times able just to go right back to drifting. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they lost some body panels, but these cars, when you guys set this stuff up, a lot of this stuff is set up to break away, to break off, to be replaced. We know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
This wasn't what happened in your car.
Yeah, I mean, normally, like in those situations, like when you hit another car, it's really kind of like you hit someone in the parking lot, because you might be both going 80 miles an hour, but you're hitting each other at 80 miles an hour, and you're both moving at 80 miles an hour. So it's like it's bending stuff, breaking stuff. I hit a wall. Yeah. When you hit a wall, that wall is not going 80 miles an hour. It's not moving. So it just absorbed everything. I mean, where it hit, it kind of just crushed my whole apron. I mean, it was a big project. To like most like professional shops probably wouldn't be able to do it if they don't have someone with experience like replacing aprons and like like basically we took all the factory welds out and like put it back on. Like it's like a new corner basically on the car. So it was a lot of work, but it was a lot easier than building a brand new car, which, you know, other people were like, oh, why don't you just switch? Dude, building a car is a lot of work. Like all the little stuff adds up to a lot of labor time.
So now I remember when you had your crash, and this is pretty wild, you guys actually pulled the car right there in the paddock.
So we got it where I got to the line to qualify, and we stayed up basically over 24 hours. The team did phenomenal. It's 2 times this year that the team had to stay up 24 hours straight, so they were not super excited.
So you might say that you made a human mistake.
Yes. So they literally, like, we changed the cradle, the turbo, the steering rack, and we had to source some of these parts too. So it was not only just changing the parts, it was, there's a junkyard 3 hours away that has this stuff. Let's run and get it. And they close at 5 and it's 2 p.m. Oh shit. You know, like, and like that one, they're like, we only take cash when we got there. So we had to send someone the next day to pay. Like, we were like, the person there was like, I have $150 and it's 300. What do you want me to do? And the guy agreed to let us get it and pay him cash the next day. So that was nice of that group. You know, I was really happy that they did, but it was just little stuff like that. And we used chains. We used 3 trucks at once with chains pulling the car, just enough to get it straight enough. Like, it was not straight, but it was straight enough. But unfortunately, we went to the line, the intercooler piping was broken, and we used a coupler to seal it, but the coupler was just on like 2 straight bands and not beaded. So basically once it got enough pressure, that was literally our first run. Like we made it to the T of qualifying time. So it's like, we didn't even have a chance to like go do a donut somewhere. Like we literally drove from track to front line, and then it popped off like midway through the bank. And then I was just like, I kept hitting the gas. I'm like, clutch kick, no, it's not going to work. It's just not.
Yeah, you just like, you lost everything. It's gone.
Yeah.
So you guys had people pulling the car with 3 trucks and chains. You had mobile welding service out there.
Yes.
You had, I mean, when we talk about an all hail, throw everything we got at it, that's what you guys did. You like, and I will say, to your credit, there's a lot of people that would have just put it in the trailer and went home. Like,
yeah. So, I mean, I'll give all that credit to my team, because I told my team, I was like, you guys decide, because you're going to be the one fixing this. And they're like, if you want to do it, we'll do it. I said, no, if you guys want to do it, we're doing it. You guys decide right now. And they're like, start ordering parts. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And they didn't get any sleep, and we weren't even sure we could get it done. Like, it was like, we are 90% sure we could get it done. And I mean, we were basically at 99.9% to have it driftable. Now I'll say there were some parts that, if we made it to competition, the car was really wonky, and I don't know how far we would have made it, but I just wanted to qualify and then see what happens, because like the rear subframe was also like bent, and we didn't, like, the toe was basically like, I was driving the car like, you know, fully turned right going straight. Like it was funky.
So I guess I have to ask, and I guess more from a standpoint of allowing you to elaborate on the point you already said, for people that maybe aren't super familiar with all the work that goes into building one of these cars. But clearly somebody's going to make the case that, hey, listen, there's cheap Z shells all over the country right now, maybe a little bit more expensive after the pandemic thing. But that, you know, listen, you have so many of the parts that can be swapped out. You're already saying you bent, you know, a rear subframe. You said that you had to replace the cradle. You had a whole apron, which means that passenger side front rail was probably pushed in. Like, you have any movement on the strut towers? No, right?
The strut towers are part of the apron. So
so you had to change that whole. All right, yeah. I was thinking of like, oh well,
just
yeah,
the
I guess.
front of the strut tower.
Yeah, right.
It's like the whole, literally from the B pillar, like where the door attaches, all the way to the front of the car. I had everything off except for the frame rail, and the frame rail we bent back and made straight. And then we replaced all that. I mean, we had to pull the engine to do it. Like, it wasn't like we're just doing this with the engine. We tried, but once we got to that point, it's like, no, we can't get the other, like, we couldn't weld the other side of it without pulling the engine. So we had to pull the engine.
So I think this kind of exaggerates the point I'm trying to drive across, which is, we're at that point where we're doing so much work anyway. Why not just get another shell, strip it to pieces, which we all know cars come apart way faster than they go back together. I mean, I know that there's going to be things like stitch welding the chassis and a whole bunch of different things, but why not just start with something that was completely straight and try to get all your parts moved over?
So if I did that, the amount of hours that it would take would probably be man hours, 300. I would say it's like 300 hours to do that, versus doing the frame job, it's 30. No, it's probably more like 50 frame hours, or not 50 frame hours, 50 hours of frame, including, you know, all that. And then also when you pull stuff off and put it on and that, and it's like, okay, now this little quirk that you don't know, it's a bug that you're going to have to figure out. So you might, like, assembly, reassembly, stuff happens. Like, it doesn't always, everything doesn't work exactly like it is. So for me, I don't do the cage work, right? Like, I would have to send that off to someone. So timing that, then I have to rely on them to get it done, then getting that back, and then sourcing a shell. I know would have been like time unless I just wanted to pay whatever price, it was. Like that's the problem is like when you're trying to do stuff quickly, stuff gets expensive. So in the end, the car is straight. So that like I knew I could get it straight. So that's like I have a lot of experience with fixing this kind of stuff. So it wasn't a worry for me. Like that stuff's a lot easier actually for me than the aftermarket parts. Like figuring out all the aftermarket fittings and this and that stuff. Like I don't build race cars for a living. Like I don't know how to do that. I learn how to do that as I do it. Like it's just step by step. I'm Googling or asking friends or getting help from other drivers.
So go. No,
and I was gonna say, so now that you've dealt with that, right, and you're dealing with that at the end of the year, whatnot, you're getting ready, you're getting your platform ready, and then all of a sudden ProSpec changes rules and decides to kind of go a different route with certain things. How did you make that adjustment for this year? Are you still dealing with it?
So this year, there's nothing that changed from last year for me. The only rule that changed last year was you had to switch to Link ECU by this year.
Right.
But you already
I made that change last year. And the only rule that's going to really affect me for next year is the steering wheel and pedal box rule. So I'll have to do that by next year. So I can run this whole year the way it is. And my theory was I don't want to spend any money on the car if I don't have to. Because who knows? Maybe I'll hit another Irwindale wall. Like I don't want to do all. You never know. So yeah.
Go. I want to go back real quick because we missed one little thing that I think is a good piece of this. You mentioned how the aftermarket parts were the part where you struggle, but the part that you really excel in is obviously things like auto repair, and that's because of the business that you do every day, right?
Sure. So I mean, like I've been in collision, like not me personally, like I don't know how to do it, but I have a team that they know how to do this kind of stuff. So doing that is like, I don't want to say cake, but it's something I have a lot of experience. We know, what to change, what to fix, what's fixable, what's not fixable, and how much it's going to cost versus, if I do aftermarket stuff, if I don't know, like I know everything I know on the 370Z now, but if I went back in time, like I've bought a lot of things that don't work on these cars and tried a lot of things. And like, you get to the point where I need this fitting. Oh crap. You're supposed to have, this match with this. I didn't even know that. I mean, I can tell you many stories of just down to like thermostats are crazy, surprises sometimes like on, LS swaps.
Yeah. But, yeah. It's right. Exactly. We're not talking about you're just using the VQ that came with the car. So
no. Yeah. I mean, if it was like a bolt-on, when it's bolt-on aftermarket, it's kind of simple because it's like you have instructions, you know exactly what fits. It's when you're doing everything custom. I mean, I have to keep like spreadsheets and lists of everything that I order so that when I need to order again, I'm like, okay, what did I put on this car? And then when you have, I have the 350Z and the 370Z. Sometimes I think that I have this on the 350Z and I have it on 370. You have to know what you have. Like having there's a lot to it that people might forget about, which I'm excited. 350Z is coming back.
Well, it's not 350Z, but wait, you're 350Z?
Well,
yeah.
What? So I thought it was 370.
I have a 370.
You have two of them.
The 350 is gonna be my backup car this year, and basically it's down to getting a tune done. I'm gonna get it wrapped the same. So it'll be my backup FD car, and then I'm gonna take it to, smaller events that basically like there's, if there's an event right before FD, I'm gonna take the 350 out.
Yeah, of course.
Are you coming to Hyperfest? Oh, we lost him. Can you hear us?
Maybe Max will.
Guys.
Hello? Oh, there he is.
We're back.
Can you hear us?
Oh, we hear you though.
We hear you.
So we're changing settings. Here we go. Microphone's off.
Hello?
Hello?
You back?
There we
are.
We're back. Yeah,
we're back.
There we go.
That's exciting. We usually have a few of these throughout the podcast. It's our way of kind of just keeping things humble,
Well, I was asking, are you going to Hyperfest this year? Just curious.
I want to. I don't know because the event is right before the first round of FD, and I think both of my cars are gonna be wrapped. doing that. But if I can get it done right before, I might actually take, if I can, now I got the trailer, I wanted to be able to take 2 cars if I go, so I can like maybe test 370Z, but like really drive 350Z.
Yeah.
So we'll see. If there might be a last minute attempt at that, but if not, then I'm definitely doing Grid Life, Midwest, and
nice.
LS Fest and those events. So
yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
those events are just so good.
They're a lot of fun. Like that's like when you remember why you do all this, like for sure. Like sometimes at the events, things just don't go your way and you're just like pounding your head against the wall. But those events, usually you're just like pure smiles. Everything goes great typically, unless things break. But
so this is like a you know, obviously super, you know, I don't know if it's super random, but you know, I always find it, you know, I've read up a little bit about you and stuff, and me myself being first generation here in the US and stuff, and
sure.
like how for you, like, you know, how do you, because you know, for me it's a different story how I found out about cars, but for you, like being from Nashville, how do you get into drifting? Like how do you find that? Because in Long Island you can't really find that. I feel like where I was raised, it's really not easy to find. You know, you have to kind of have like one friend who does it. Yeah. Right? I would say
well, there's nothing around here.
It's like a niche type of thing. Like how did you get there?
My story kind of starts with the MR2. I had an MR2 in high school. I went to autocross events and they would yell at me nonstop because I would power slide every turn that could be power slid, just because. Like it wasn't faster, it was just fun. I was like, yeah, look at me like sliding through the turn, and they're like, that's so slow, like don't do that, you're an idiot. And you know, like I would be like, but it's fun. And I did that. I remember like I got second place one time because there was 2 drivers in our class. I'd go home to my parents like, I got second place. It's like, how many drivers? It's like 2. They're like, wow, okay, yeah, that's really good. Right. So I learned that, and then eventually learned, you know, I learned about Atlanta. I mean, my first drifting was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I went to college in Atlanta, and I took the MR2 out there, and I learned like, oh wow, you get to drive all day. You don't have to shag cones all day to run 2 minutes.
So
you
Hooman,
get to drive.
Is this the Andy Sapp era? Am I in the right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
literally,
yeah.
I would go to those events, and these guys are already got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I showed up. This is how ridiculous my drifting career started. I would show up in my MR2 with one like spare tire size spare tire. Like, not joking. I would show up with 4 stock wheels, used tires that I bought at the local tire shop, and I would go there and do like, I don't know, however many laps I could do, not really drifting, mostly straight lining and just kind of like getting, because it's really hard to drift an MR2. And I remember Tony Schultz, he's an XFD driver. He was like running the start line, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me can you make me better? Like, can you just do that? He's like, can I drive it? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. He drives it. The first time he's like, kind of like babies it or whatever. And then he does a second lap and he like links the whole thing. And I'm just like, that's what you're supposed to do. Oh my God. And he's like, this car sucks. Like, it's not you. Like, this car is awful. So basically I would run like those events until my tire popped. I would drive down to the tire shop with the spare tire on and be like, man, you sold me a tire. It popped. I drifted it like half a day and it popped, you know, so fast. And like back then I was like thinking it should last all day. And now I learned, you know, better. And he would always cut me a deal. So I bought tons of tires from the guy. And then eventually I got a 350Z and started like learning actually like real drifting. And then I was like, oh my God, like it taught me a lot. Cause like, you've got to learn how to balance a car in MR2. You can't just like throw it in and hold it. No, you got to like thread the needle perfectly, which is like why I kind of really want to build the MR2 drift car, just for the like, it's a real pleasure driving crappy cars and linking courses, like difficult courses. Yeah. So like one of my buddies, he has a Miata, and it's like super stockish. It has like a couple mods, and it's the worst car to drive, but he always lets me drive it. And I love it because every time like I link it like all the way, I'm like, and it's a challenge for me. Like that says anything. Like his car is just set up so bad that like I struggle to like make it work, and it's a fun car. Like I enjoy that.
Now, this is not the MR2 that you have in the garage, right?
No. That one I got in I think it was like 07, something like that. 07, 08. I got that one lucky. I think it was some military guy wrecked the car, and I just saw it at an auction, and I bought it dirt cheap. It was missing so much stuff though, so I had to like I had a turbo that this girl hit my front end on, and then I saw this car, and I basically took that car and made it into this car, and I had to use a lot of US parts to put it on, so it's like a half Japanese spec, half US spec right-hand drive car. So eventually, like I want to spend time. Like it's like so many projects for me. I can only do one at a time. Like I wish I had all day to just mess with this stuff. But
I shared that story with him that you're looking for the SW20.
I'm just what it is. I have this bucket list of builds. You know what I mean? Like I've done so many different things. I think when I was younger, and I've built a lot of cars. And you know how like you get into these niche cars, and it seems that you always stay with them, right? Like I went from DSMs to Evos, kind of back to DSMs. Then I messed with Subarus and some stuff. And then it was kind of like, all right, let me try my luck. And I ended up picking up a 350Z. And so what ends up happening is like, then along the way, you do a bunch of these random swaps, right? But you get into this like list. I think as I get like older, like I can't, like there's cars I wish I kept that I got rid of. And then now there's a bunch of things that I want to do just so I can say I have done them, Just to say it or to do it? Like, I don't know. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah. So like, and that's the thing. Like I'm not like, I suck at social media. I'm not very good at putting posts up. I always forget until like randomly. It's one of those things where I've always built cars for me. Like I really don't care what anybody else thinks about the stuff I do, but it is a lot of fun. Like and I've said this so many times, I almost enjoy building the cars more than I enjoy driving them. That's just my thing.
And I'm telling you, I've known this man for over 5 years now. When he gets into something, that's why I'm like kind of excited. I was excited for him to get the MR2 because I know it would come out pretty dope, or at least he'd like go, overboard with it. Because like, for example, right now he's into TIG and MIG welding right now, and that's all I hear about. Or you're gonna go on his Instagram, it's all you see. It's the way that he is,
Yeah, but I just like, I think the whole art of building and fabricating and making and so I think that's like the piece that like I feel like is getting lost, and I really enjoy doing it. But yeah, man, I feel like I don't think I want to build like an MR2 like 3S GTE like real like high production, whatever. Yeah. I want that like, give me that NA MR2 that I can, basically take that 5S FE out and just throw it in the dumpster and like put a K swap in it, put a K24 in it. And
you're a K swapper, okay?
No, see, that's what I'm saying though. I'm not. Like I've never been a Honda guy. Like I've done some B series stuff early in my, and I did like one H22 thing, but like for the most part, I really don't do Hondas. So I've never played with a K series, so I think that's kind of on my list, right? I want to turbo it. Like I want to do all the cool K series things that K series people do. And I really love the MR2 platform, that rear engine platform. I've driven so many of them, and I really like the way the car drives.
That's what makes that car. Like it's not like, it looks great. Like I love the way it looks, but it's when you drive that car, it is very well balanced and just tuned in a way like you're just like, wow, I feel like I'm driving an awesome car. Like you could be going, I mean, the NAs were like 8 seconds 0 to 60. Like they were not fast cars. No. But that was my first car, and I loved it. Like I would, jam through the gears and like, oh, this is awesome, and I'm going like 45 miles an hour. Like it didn't matter. Like it's just like, this is fun, and that's what makes those cars awesome. Like, and I think that's like kind of the way the FRS kind of was supposed, like how it went, like it wasn't a fast car, but
Right.
it drove good. And that's kind of like the mentality that like you don't need a fast car. It's actually not as fun to drive really fast cars on the street because you can't really
Go anywhere.
like, yeah. So it's like almost more fun to drive a car at its limit than it is to drive a car at like half its limit faster than the car that's at its limit. I don't know if that makes sense.
It
like how I'm
does.
saying
It does.
but
But I think that that's what happened. That's why so many people are infatuated with using using a Miata for track use. Oh,
Do
I
we lose
lost
him?
you.
oh, we're
Oh,
back.
there
Though.
you
Are
go.
you back?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I was saying like that's what I think draws people so much to tracking Mazda Miatas, because it's the car that you can make some, suspension modifications to, and then drive the car full out the entire way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what
For
puts
sure.
that car on the envelope. And that's really where I think like people, and listen, I think the same thing. I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but when you come down to like a lot of drift cars and practice cars and missile cars with, these people like they don't build the fastest thing, because at the end of the day, if it's slower, the car will use less tire. Plus, it's like, you still have to use more skill to kind of practice through it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like my other car is a G35. It's basically all my old Pro-Am stuff put into the
Right.
G35. And like, I take that car out to mid pond and just have fun. And I love it because it's like, you drive all day, almost nothing, like things break, but it's like minor stuff, like it's like, it gets hot if I really, drive it, but it's not like really crazy stuff versus, and it's a lot cheaper to keep the tires. Like you're running smaller tires.
Yeah.
The car is not as fast, but it's fun. Like I enjoy driving. Like that's like for you, like you like the building part. Like
Yeah.
I hate touching the car at the track. If I'm touching the car, you're probably seeing me like grumpy face, and then once I get back on track, you're like, okay, there's the Hooman I know. That's the guy I know. If I'm touching the car and it's not just changing tires, I'm just like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, no, listen, I get it. Listen, I'm not talking about like I don't enjoy driving, right? Like I
Sure.
enjoy driving.
Of course, yeah, everybody.
And I'm with you. At the track, I don't want to be working on the car. Like, that's
for sure.
Yeah, like even like my whole thing, I never drifted, but like I did the drag racing thing. Like if we were working on the car, like seriously, like you were having a really shitty day.
Yeah.
Very
very good.
Yeah, right. Like that's what it is. Like
exactly.
at the end of the day, if you can get away with driving a car without working on it, that's pretty good.
That's the best. That's the best days. Like those days when you just drive lap after lap, which is like my whole Pro-Am career was in the VQ until like my last year, and I would be the guy that is always on track, always. They're like, how many laps has this guy made? Like everyone else is like, I'm out of time. I'm like, 1 lap, 2 lap, 3 lap. I would get like 30 laps, and there's like everyone else is like, my car's broken, this and that. I'm like, I'm just driving this stock VQ car with coilovers and a handbrake, and that's it.
So curious, Hooman. So we know about your MR2 story and having the spare wheels and stuff like that. But when was the turning point for when you said to yourself in your mind, you're like, you know what? Obviously, you're doing Pro-Am, and you're like, you know what? I'm going full throttle with this. I'm creating a program for it. I'm aiming for FD.
I never intended to go to FD. That was never on my radar. I always intended to only drive Pro-Am. The only reason I went to FD is because I got my license, and at that time, the logistics to drive FD were marginally more expensive than driving Pro-Am, and I was able to get friends to help me. Like I literally, like Forrest Luster, like I don't know if you guys know him. He's out of Memphis. He's my tuner. I called him up and I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Do you want to go to FD with me and help me? And he's like, you want to do it? Let's do it. I can do it. And I'm like, all right. Number one, crew member, I got it. He's like, we're going to figure it out. Then like Jake Elliott, he helped me out. And he joined the team that year, just kind of like randomly hit me up. He's like, I saw you got your license. Do you want to do it? Like all this stuff kind of just fell into place. And I mainly went because the professionalism at FD events, like it's a higher caliber drivers. Like I like driving with better drivers. Like the events are more organized. The judging is more structured. It's more accurate. Those are kind of the reasons I went, but I never really like, I've never been like, I want to like, you know, in that dream land, sure, it was like there, but it was never like, I'm doing this for that. I kind of fell into the license, just had a really good season. And before that, like, I just like driving. And the only reason I started Pro-Am was because before all these massive drift events came out, there was no other events. Like you could only drive a lot if you were driving Pro-Am. If you went to grassroots events, it was parking lots. You're never going to a real racetrack unless it was Pro-Am. So I did Pro-Am just to drive on the tracks. Like my first Pro-Am event, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was a lost puppy, but I actually, the MDU came to Nashville and I drove my car there without a cage, and I ended up qualifying 6th, but they said you don't have a cage, so you can't compete. So somehow no one else, like there was like 30 drivers and only like 6 drivers qualified. Like everyone else zeroed out on both their qualifying runs. So like I got 6th place in the event just from like the qualifying run. I was like, interesting. Okay, I could do this. You know, it got me like kind of hooked. And then like I made a rule to myself kind of in the early years where I was like, if the event is within 4 hours, I'm going to make it happen one way or another, because I'm tired of like waiting months and months to not drive. Like, cause it used to be, I mean, you'd be like, Nashville would be 2 times a year would be the Atlanta guys would come up and host an event at, Nashville Super Speedway. And that was the only time I could drift in Nashville after basically Turner Field went away. That was my only option. I was like, man, I want to drive. Like I enjoy driving. So I bought like my first upgrade on the car was a trailer. I did not have a hydro. I didn't have coilovers. I didn't have a welded diff. Like I had nothing. I had
All
a
right, wait, hold on a second.
LSD.
So you had a 350Z without a welded diff and you were drifting it? So
Viscous LSD, I would change that fluid every event because that fluid only lasts one event before it just starts opening up.
But like,
yeah, I didn't even know you could weld the diff. I didn't even know what that was. I swear, like I didn't know anything. Like I was completely like, I would show up to these events. I didn't even know how to drive my trailer. I remember going to a Turner Field event and trying to back they're like, just park over there. And I'm like, okay, and driving forward, no problem. But I had to like, I remember some guy was like, do you want me to do? I'm like, yes, please. Like drive this thing, put it where it needs to go. I'm trying to figure this out. Like, I don't know what I mean, I just did it, you know, like I wanted to do it. And I learned by making mistakes. Like I was like, I want to drive. I don't want to like sit on the sidelines and be like, I wish I did that. I was just like, I'm just going to do that. And I was younger, you know, it was easier to like drive in the middle of the night and like do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like my sister-in-law was big on, cars. She used to come with me and help me, and it'd be me and her literally. And that's it. Like I didn't have anyone that like she didn't know anything about cars either. I swear.
You're just saying so much that I feel like I love having all these random thoughts. Yeah. Like, wait a minute, you said stuff in there that I need to like come back to. Wait, you just said like my sister-in-law was big into cars. So you're married at this time.
No. I'm not married. I'm still not married. I'm a single guy.
All right.
My sister-in-law.
I got it.
It's my brother's wife.
Okay, so she's into cars.
Sister-in-law, right? I'm
saying that's right. That's right.
All right.
So she's into cars.
She loves cars.
And she says to you, well, no. Let's look at the other way. Okay. She says to your brother, her husband, in the middle of the night, hey, I'm going to go with Hooman. We're going to go drive around in his car.
Yeah. She used to come with me to Atlanta. Like
that's awesome.
Like drive all the way down. We would go down. She would help me. Like...
We lost you again.
Do we? I'm sure this is a really good story.
I know, right? He's telling that story really hard right now.
Damn. Do you hear us?
Can you hear us?
No, you can't hear us, can you? No, right? Damn technical difficulties. Oh, you back?
He said hello.
Hello. Test.
Yeah, there you are. There you are. You're back. Can you hear
us? We hear you.
We can hear you.
Hey.
Do you hear? All right. No.
We back?
Hello?
Is it us?
You can hear me, I guess.
I can hear you. Yep.
Now I hear you.
I feel
Okay.
like because we saw Max adjust the thing, it's got to be us. Is it us?
Someone in the building, I think, is opening their AirPods, and then it says AirPods, and it switches automatically.
Yeah, I can hear like a background noise, like someone, it's in their pocket or something.
AirPods.
Someone, I think, is like opening it, and it's
to what? To your computer?
My computer.
Can you just turn your Bluetooth off? Okay.
All right.
That's what we're here for. We're here for problem solving.
It was really the story you were telling was really intense, and we could see you just going.
So we want to hear.
All right. So I don't know where I left off.
All right, listen, your sister-in-law would just
was helping
hop in
you
the
out.
car with you, drive to Atlanta, leave your brother behind in Nashville.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I'm going with Hooman. We're going to drive cars, because that's
family love. That's family love right there. You know.
That's what this is.
Yeah. So like when I first started, I started in Atlanta. I would drive to events in my car and then show up with my one spare tire. Then I came back home after college and I eventually got a 350Z. I had a Mustang GT for like a very short period of 05. Actually, I had a 2000 body style Mustang GT.
We all know why you got rid of it.
Obvious reasons, right? Then I got an 05 GT Mustang. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. This thing actually drives.
Right.
Then I drove the 350Z and I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. So I got that car.
Yeah.
And then I started going to the local events and I could only fit like 2 tires or 2 wheels in it.
Right.
And I was like, I got to do something. So I would sometimes I would have like a truck follow me and bring, like she would drive the truck or whatever. And I would just drive to the event. Eventually I was like, I need a trailer. I got a trailer and that let me open the door to drive to Atlanta. And then I was hauling that trailer around I started with the Durango, like the old Durango, like a 2000 model.
The one that had a self-eject. Yeah, the one that had a self-eject on coolant.
Yes. I blew a head gasket on
Every
it
one of them did.
Yeah, and it was the RT, V8 one. Such the worst, Toby, do not ever try that again. I learned what load E tire were the hard way on the next. I was running load C tires and blowing rears left and right on the tow truck, right? Not the the trailer. And I learned I got an Excursion. It was a gas guzzler, but I love that thing. That was the best tow vehicle. If I could keep an Excursion now, if it was able to haul my bigger trailer, I would. That thing was awesome. But eventually I started towing around and driving, and I would go basically the only events I really went to were Atlanta. That was Atlanta and Nashville. There was no other nearby events at that time except for Memphis. But right on the earliest parts, Memphis came up, and I didn't really know much about that. So I just kind of learned. I was doing Nashville and Atlanta, Turner Field, because I didn't want to go to a track. I was driving my daily driver. That 350Z was my daily 350Z. I didn't want to crash it. So I was I didn't do tandem. I did nothing. I just drove on the track, and I was happy to just link the course and, hit a cone every now and then.
Yeah.
And
so
then I switched.
It's interesting though, because we bringing people back to kind of what the time looks like. Atlanta really was a pretty large hub for drifting. They had, remember they had XDC, which was down there, Nopi Drift. In the early days of Formula Drift wasn't as Formula Drift as it is now,
That's right.
And you had a lot of guys that were still trying to feel it out. Remember, in those days, Steph Papadakis, who now owns the teams and is, mastermind of builds that exist out in the sphere, he was actually driving. You know what I mean? We're talking about the Tanner Faust. We're talking about Samuel Cubinet. So what happens is there's this culture in, and I'm not telling Hooman knows this. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But there's this culture down there, especially with Nopi Drift and XDC and a lot of these events. This is the Joey Redmond, Slide America, Andy Sapp, Battleground Motorsports. Tracy and Dan. This is that early Atlanta kind of hub that was drifting, and people don't really understand that. Like, there was a really strong drift culture down there in Atlanta that had a lot of love. So that would make a lot of sense. There wasn't really anything else going on. Drifting was just too new to the States.
It really was. And like, if there was an event, like there was some events in Clarksville in that's Nashville's like not suburb, but a nearby city.
Yeah.
And there was like a parking lot that they would do where you would just drift in a park. Like, it didn't even set up a track. Like, it was literally like, here's a parking lot, go do some donuts for 5 minutes and then move and then let someone else do donuts. Like, it was like sideshow era without the sideshow dangerousness, you know, like it was just a parking lot.
Yeah.
But Atlanta, like I remember when I went there, I drove in my stock car and they're like, dude, you need to buy coilovers. I'm like, coilovers? That's like $3,000. Like, I don't have that kind of, like, I'm not doing that. What are you talking about? Like, dude, like, you will love your car so much better if you get like, just do it. I'm like, okay. And eventually I bought coilovers. Eventually I didn't even have a hydro in the car until Pro-Am. Like, I drove that car with a stock e-brake. I Googled and like learned you got to put Project Muse shoes on 350Zs. Otherwise the e-brake doesn't work. Like, that's the only like brand brake shoe that works on a 350Z. I was like, I don't want to put new, like, I don't want to mess up the interior, you know, like when I was like caging it, I was like thinking I'm going to leave the whole interior in, all that. Then I started I'm like, never mind. I'm done. Like, it's a race car now. Like, I give up. Like, it was, that car was like a 60,000 mile car when I caged it. Like, it was an 04 and I think it was 09 when I caged it. So it was a nice car and I just
ruined it.
Over. I basically, basically.
Yeah. But so now, is that the current 350Z that you still have?
It is. Same 350Z. Basically, I took that car from Pro-Am from grassroots to Pro-Am to FD, and same car.
So now, people getting started today, right? Like, let's say you're kind of, you like drifting. Maybe you've even done some events and some kind of practice days. Maybe you've made it out to some club events or whatever it is, but you don't have the car that you're hoping for. It seems like, even from what you're saying, like, hey, like, we all know 350Z is a great platform to start out with, but yet so many people still are struggling with that whole thing of getting fixated on an S chassis. And I still think that the 350Z, I mean, right now I would say 350Z and E46 chassis are probably best bang for the buck that you can, you know, really get fairly competitive with without spending like everything you own.
Sure. I mean, I think the real question is, do you need to be competitive, right? Like, you don't need to be competitive. If you're not linking the course, who cares if you're the slowest car out there? If you don't even know how to drift, you're not trying to win, right? Like, you're just trying to learn. So if you already have the car and it's not a valuable car, like, that's the big caveat. If it's a valuable car and you don't want that car, sell that car and get a cheaper car, and then life is easier. Because if you're drifting, like, if you're drifting something that is a lot harder to drift, then it's a lot different than drifting something that's easier, and you learn a lot faster. But if you're drifting something nice that breaks all the time, then you're spending all your time working on the car. So there's a lot of differences there.
So 350Z though, would you agree that, especially right now, it's a pretty good platform to pick up affordably? I mean, at least it was before about a year and a half ago, but pick up affordably. It comes with a lot of really solid parts and little things you can do to enhance the car kind of out of the box. And, you know, like you probably know now, you could even if you have a VSLE, a vicious coupling like LSD, you could just get one of the stock, open-ended discs and weld it up. And, you kind of throw that pumpkin back in and you're good to go. But car comes with carbon fiber drive shaft. It comes with a lot of aluminum parts. On the front, you can gain some angle right off the bat without even putting in rack spacers, just by taking those bump stop things out. Like, listen, I think the only downside, I think, to the 350Z is possibly the VQ engine. Like I like a VQ. I still have my VQ, but depending on which car you get and its life that it's seen before you got it, they could be a little temperamental.
I mean, so I'll say the biggest advantage of the 350Z is it's figured out. It's not as figured out as an S chassis, but it's figured out. Like you don't have to figure anything out. You just go out there, you can drive it stock and do some minor things. And if you want to change something or make something better, someone's already done it. You don't have to figure it out. If that's your first car, you don't want to be like figuring out how to drift a, 95 Camaro. Like you don't want to learn how to drift that car because that no one's doing to do something like do major modifications, stuff like that. Like 350Z also has all that figured out. But now in terms of the DE being bad, like, I mean, they'll eventually like, oil like will be an issue, just eating oil. But other than that, like not so unreliable, it's not like it's it's not bad. It's just not perfect. But I mean, I ran, I think I've put like 20,000 miles or more on my VQ engine and Pro-Am, like drifting it, and then my G35 has like 200K on it. And, I've been drifting that. It holds together. Like, it's not a surprise. Like it smokes like,
but
every
do. Right.
It's just, it is what it is, but I think on the other side, like I don't have a lot of experience on the BMWs, but typically, those motors are probably not as reliable either.
That's
I
fair.
think it's probably, which one do you prefer?
Yeah.
I prefer working on Nissans over BMWs.
Right. So like what you're
just
saying,
in general.
So what you're suggesting to everybody is, hey, get a 350Z, take out the VQ and put it in a K24.
Yes. Do that and then turbo it. And then that should be your first drift car, and that's what you should start on.
That will allow you to line perfectly. Yes.
So one of the interesting things that we were talking about before when we were coming in, Scott, is like his background and stuff like that, and him telling me about in Iran there's actually a drifting series that he was gonna go judge and stuff like that. And I think I talked to this with Kelsey being an advocate for women and stuff like that. As far as being first generation here, I think you're a big influence in a sense. Like, I'm sure a lot of people from your background don't do what you're doing, and I think it's very interesting. Do you like push for that? Like, for example, you were saying you saw someone speaking in Farsi. Are you like very into kind of communicating with the community out there and also pushing your community here?
Sure. So I try to communicate with them. I get a lot of messages. I have a lot of like friends that are on social media that I've never really met or anything like that. There's a couple of them that I've met that live in the US that have come to events and they say hi. And I love that. I love talking to all of them. There's some, Instagram and stuff. I follow their pages and stuff like that. I don't want to say like, I'm Iranian, right? Because I'm American.
Yes.
But I do like to show the culture part of it and what I do. So I do both, and I try to like basically engage with everyone. It's not to me, I like it. Sometimes they've asked me like car questions and they have completely different cars there. So they're asking me like, what do you think of this, and that? I'm like, I don't even know what that car is, but let me try to, figure out what I can tell you that is anywhat, useful. Cause they don't have the same aftermarket support there. Like if they got a drift car over there, they figured some stuff out. Cause that's not just like doing something or whatever. Like it's a totally different world over there.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
No, and I think it's I mentioned this, I think it's a very important thing to, even though you guys, because I said this to Kelsey the last time we had her, even though it doesn't seem like it, we're at the base level of what Formula Drift could be. And having people like yourself who are out there doing this and kind of representing a specific group, not intentionally, but it's part of what we live this life like this. It's important. And I think not only that, someone like yourself who is very free-spirited, one of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about is a quote that you had, which was, always remember to have fun drifting, because if you're not, you're doing it wrong. I think that's the way to live it. That's the true meaning of a car enthusiast.
If you're not having fun,
why
are you doing it?
Exactly.
That's it. That's like the number one thing. Like if you're not enjoying it, like you're not going to enjoy every part of it. And if you do, that's awesome if you do. But you're not. There's going to be parts of it you don't enjoy. But if there's not something that you're enjoying doing it, then don't do it. Like, what are you chasing? A lot like different people are chasing different things. You're like, you asked me before, like, were you trying to get it? Like, some people were chasing that clout. That's what they care about. That's what's exciting for them. They want to be like the famous driver or whatever. Like, I want to be the best driver I can be. I'd love to be the best driver in the world, but that's not like my ultimate goal. You know what I mean? Like, it is a goal, like, hey, be the best driver I can be and try to be the best in the world. But I'm just trying to have fun while slowly, increasing my ability.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like not everybody can be what they dream to be. I mean, I was lucky because I always dreamed of being like an overweight wheel person. So like I was able to get right in.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things. Listen, so before we start to wrap up and let you go, I do want to talk about one funny thing that people should look at, because I don't know if they know this. You have a pretty good game of I don't want to say kill, marry, screw, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So first off, tell people what that is and why they should. It really is very funny. Why they should watch.
I have the videos. I have some of them.
They're so good.
Okay.
They're so good.
I mean, I just went
like to have
to
fun.
A bunch of drivers did marry, kill, screw. I did it for the best one. I think is the RB LSJZ. That's the best one. I think it's funny. Go watch. Like, I have it on YouTube. I have it on Instagram. They're all out there. Like, just go watch them. If you guys like them, I'll make some more. They're not that hard to make, and I have a blast making them.
Yeah, they're funny, man. And I think it's so funny because like you you have a few episodes. I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but you have a few episodes where you really lob some curveballs in there to some of the drivers, and some of their answers are pretty good.
Yeah. I just try to make them laugh. I don't know. That's. I just try to ask a question that's gonna be funny to somebody. Yeah. And the reality is, I'm making it funny for myself.
Yeah.
If I laugh, I'm happy.
Exactly.
So if you guys don't find it funny, I don't really care
that
much. As long as I found it funny, I'm pretty excited.
So there's a bumper sticker we should all live by.
I found this question. It's your boys, and I had to ask you because it's just too funny. Your boys at AZ Rag ask you what's your favorite cheese, Hooman?
Oh man, I'm gonna show you why he says this. Okay, you see this piece of cheese. This is gonna be my favorite cheese because you know that video where you throw a cheese on someone's face, like. You've seen that, right? Like people throw cheese on like someone
and then it stays on their.
It sticks, right? Yeah. We were at my house drinking, and AZ Rag is Louis, threw this piece of cheese, and it landed on my face and stuck. And he took a photo. It was like a video. We had the video, and he deleted the video on accident, so it never got like posted. So I think that's why he's asking. This piece of cheese right here.
Is that a real piece of cheese or
no?
It's a coaster. It's a coaster. It's a coaster.
You think he just like keeps a piece of cheese?
Hey man, I'm hungry. I want some cheese.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know what we have any other questions there.
Well, it's just your boys bugging out in here. So
that's good. We appreciate
so you still have AC in your drift car?
I did. I don't anymore. Not in either car.
A cool suit,
and then
I have a cool suit. I have a cool suit in both the FD cars. I have AC in my G35.
Yeah.
So I would have kept AC if I could have, but I couldn't. So
yeah, it's real easy to recognize both Hooman and I at a drift event. We're usually the two dudes sweating the most.
He said there was another one. What's Hooman's most favorite video game?
Ooh.
Dota. Or GoldenEye. I mean, it depends what you mean by favorite.
Ooh.
Currently,
like you're talking about.
Are we talking about GoldenEye
N64?
N64?
N64 GoldenEye.
64. License to Kill.
Yeah.
GoldenEye. I am like that's my favorite in-person game to play. I still have it. It's like the only system that I actually still have connected to the TV. I don't play like any consoles. I play computer. But I will kill I challenge anyone. I'm a monster at License to Kill.
I haven't played that in such
pistols,
a long time.
power weapons, proximity mines. Like I murder in that game. So that's my favorite old school game. Current game, I play Dota 2.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is either.
See, no one knows what it is, but it's the highest prize money game in the world.
But what?
It is literally. Is it? It's a 5v5. You're one person, but it's overview. You're controlling a hero, and you have. It's like League of Legends. You know League of Legends?
Yes, okay. I've heard of.
All right.
It's
yes.
the
it's an
original.
RPG. It's an RPG.
Not RPG. No, it's
it's just okay.
It's strategy-ish, but you're controlling one person.
Max is popping it up for us to see.
Yeah, it's you'd have to. It's a very the reason I like that game is because it is a game that you're never gonna master. As much as you play it, it's always you're playing versus people that are. It's first-person shooter games. You're always you keep going, and it's a lot. You think a lot playing the game. It's a very. It requires
very strategic, a lot of strategic.
Yeah, you have to use your brain a lot to be good at that game, and also have
back
the coordination.
In the day, I used to play World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
But listen, back in the dial-up days, that was the first game that I remember.
Not World of Warcraft, Warcraft 2 you're talking about, right?
He's right.
Yes.
So
I used to play those too.
That was the first game where I remember that you can dial up with the modem, and then you could connect to your friend and play against them.
Ah.
Yep.
That was revolutionary stuff.
You want to hear a story with that? So back in the day, you used to go to AOL chat rooms.
Yeah.
And you would go to the Warcraft chat room to find players.
Right.
And you would always find someone that lived in a different area code.
Right.
So when we were kids, we would be want to play. And then one time someone typoed want to pay. And then we started writing that every time because whoever dials is the one paying the long distance. So we would just write want to pay, and then we just try to find strangers willing to pay the long distance to play. But no, if those games there was a new one out, that would be the game I go to because I was actually really big on Warcraft 3. I don't know if you remember that game. It's not like World of Warcraft, but Warcraft 3. I used to play that. I was actually ranked number one on East Coast for 4v4.
Damn.
I was good at that game.
I would go play Warcraft 2 right now. That's how much I think. I like that game. You know what it is? It's very.
Emily,
very
my girlfriend won't let me have a PlayStation.
It's not on PlayStation.
No,
we played on the computer.
Oh, well, she wouldn't even let me play on the computer.
This is before PlayStation. We didn't have any of that crap.
Yeah.
This was probably. I played this probably either right at the time. No, it's probably right before N64 came out. So,
It was late 90s.
Yeah,
early
I was
2000s.
No, it was late. It was definitely late 90s. So, I was just, we were just coming off a duck hunt high. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I laced those ducks up. I'll tell you that.
Age yourself a little bit more there, bro.
Nah, man. Listen, somewhere out there's a whole bunch of digital ducks laying in a pond that I snuffed. Anyhow.
All right. Well, so here's a synopsis.
You have the synopsis?
We have to break it down here.
Wow.
Well, I'm just going
to
stay
tuned.
tuned.
This is how I know Hooman's my boy. He's
Hooman,
drifting,
stay tuned.
Dota playing, dad joke guy. I mean, and he loves cheese.
I love the cheese.
I love the dude already.
Okay.
Sad to say. Oh, I thought he ate it for real for a second. I thought he ate it.
No, stop it.
I legitimately turned around and it looked like he took a bite.
It's crazy. All right.
That's why I just leave a piece of cheese around. You never know when you're hungry.
That's right. That's right. You'd be surprised what that dairy can do for you.
On a podcast.
What are some of the things as we wrap up? What are some of the things that you hope to accomplish this year? What are the even if you're not trying to win ProSpec, if you're not trying what are your everybody has goals or things that they want to accomplish in a given season. What are those things for you?
I definitely want to win ProSpec. That is definitely a goal.
Good, because I think that you should not be there if you were trying to win.
Yeah. I want to win. but making it to there, I want to like be a better driver every round. Like that's my goal. So my goal to accomplish that is the car functioning 100%, every round, or being prepared for surprises along the way, and having like the team that I have is amazing. I mean, they're doing stuff that I never thought I would ever be able to do with the budget that we have, and they're just, they're able to keep me out there. So that is the goal, is just to keep that functioning. And honestly, my goal for this season is making them more comfortable. That's why I got like a bigger trailer, and that didn't pan out, but we're working on finding. If anyone has a 40-foot gooseneck trailer, send me a message. I'm looking for one.
All right, I'll make some phone calls when I get out of this thing, and we there's got to be some people that have some stuff that they're. Problem is, right now it's going to be $1 million.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Is like there are some, but it's like double the price that I was,
going to pay.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, or it's like 30 years old and the same price, and it's just like.
By the way, shout out to Jacob Elliott too. He's a cool dude. We talk on
That's my boy.
Because we sponsor his build.
He was my crew chief until this year. He just had another baby, and he's like,
"Oh, congrats!
I got too many babies." I'm like, "All right, no problem." But he'll be around. I'm sure he'll come out to some of the events when he can.
Your boy Sway says, "What's your favorite FD track?"
Road Atlanta, hands down. Road Atlanta. Unfortunately, ProSpec got the boot for Road Atlanta, because there's typically new drivers in ProSpec, and typically the new drivers go into the kitty litter and slows it down. So they're just like, you guys can't go there, which sucks, because that's like my favorite track. Not just FD track. That is my favorite track I've ever driven in my life.
Oh, there's a lot of pro guys that end up in the kitty litter.
That is true, but I do agree with them. There are always, like, because ProSpec always has the guys that just started.
Yeah.
So you're always like, like pro, at least there's less and less new drivers that have never driven the track.
Yeah.
But ProSpec is always going to have the most drivers. So until ProSpec becomes only seasoned ProSpec drivers and one or two new drivers, then it's probably, I get it. It's just until the level of driving goes up, I guess, for entry level, like Pro-Am to Pro, like if everyone at Pro-Am can, link Road Atlanta, no problem, then probably it will be okay. But it's hard, and it's hard in new cars, and it's like that track is a little tricky, like just like gauging the speed, the distance, the downhill, like if it's slick, like it's a surprisingly challenging track, as simple as it looks, the layout. But it's one of my favorites. It's not just the track though; it's like the fans, like that whole experience is amazing.
It's pretty.
Like, I really love Road Atlanta. Like it's just there's nothing that beats it right now.
Right. All right. Last question, and then we're out. Yeah. Last question. 350, 370. What do you think about the 400?
Ooh. Oh, I love the 400.
Yeah.
Like I'm hoping somebody wrecks a bunch of them and they get cheap fast. Like
I mean, it sounds great.
Yeah. Like I mean, and I really like that. Like a lot of the parts are going to be interchangeable. So it's like if I built one, it would be very, like it's kind of like 350 to 370, like only small differences. So I can use a lot of the same parts in both. So that I really like. So
do we know that for a fact at this stage? I mean,
I don't know if we know that, but I think we know that, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
I think the people who are building stuff with them are basically saying, yeah, it's all the same. Like not everything. It's like, I think it's like similar enough. I mean, Nissan does that anyway. Like so many things match anyway. Like they're not going to just be like, okay, everything's different now.
Yeah.
No, they're going to make like small changes.
Yeah. It's one of those cars that like, I just can't, I keep coming back to like, I feel like I want to get one, but then like, I'm not really sure. Yeah. So I don't know, but anyhow, it's going to be interesting to see. I know Forsberg's got one, and I mean, don't get me wrong.
I think he's trying to get it ready for FD, right? Or
yeah.
Yeah. So he's like 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is, though, is like, let's be honest. When he gets done with it, it may look like a 400, but it's not a 400.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, it's listen. What I love about Forsberg's stuff is that he shows a lot of the behind the scenes build part, which again is my. So, like, it's been cool to see him kind of just nail that thing down. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it looks like they're most likely Nissan's going to do a progression. But I think the new platform that they used, from the Q50, Q60, I think that's really going to be a big thing because you're going to be able to make a lot of power out of the box.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is the dream, is if that car can be like, you don't have to do crazy swaps to get, pro-am level power out of it.
I think that's gonna definitely be the case. We're seeing it all the Qs right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest problem with the 370 and 350 is you can't really get power out of those reliably in the drift world. I don't know about I'm not as knowledgeable about non-drifts, but for drifting, like, you want to turbo your VQ, you might as well just swap it. Like, it's not it's not worth it
because you're gonna blow it up.
And it's so expensive. It's not like it's like you spend like, $2,000 and you're done. It's like you're talking 5,000-6,000 minimum to upgrade and get like 30 horsepower.
Oh, know all about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, thanks for coming on and hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me.
It was funny. It's like when Luis is like, "Oh, we got Hooman coming on." I'm like, "We've already done a podcast with Hooman." He's like, "No, we haven't." I'm like, "Oh." Like, oops. I think we've spoken enough over this that it looks the same, and I've just triggered. Yeah, like we've done. I mean, this
I look like everyone else, right? So
right. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. So, listen, we'll let you go. I appreciate the time you spent with us. I'm super excited to see you at whatever the first event is that we can get out to.
I'm going this weekend to test at Riverside, so hopefully, but it's like no body panels and like no lights. It's just going out. I didn't want to put anything good on it yet because if I break it, I'd have to fix it.
So it's a drift cart.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Awesome.
So. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
glad to do it. I'll do it again.
Awesome.
Anytime.
We'll catch up with you later.
Thank you, Hooman.
Have
a good one.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
So listen, Hooman's always an enjoyable dude. I mean, like, just the fact is that we get to hang out with people that we like and have cool car conversations. And, listen, I had a lot of fun just knowing there's some things I just didn't know. But.
Well, so, and this is the reason why I kept asking about the background stuff, because to me, it's like, there's not a lot of faces that are similar to mine, I guess I would say, not to get too, in FD.
I just want to be clear.
Drifting.
So you're
No. Meaning
so you're relating your
Hispanic
ethnicity.
Yes, because
Hispanic heritage to his Iranian heritage
in some capacity, because
we're
both kind of brown, whatever. So the reason why I'm saying that is because
my people came from like Europe area. If does that.
But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because to me it was very cool to kind of see his story, similar to probably what I would think I would do. You know what I mean? Like, probably get a car, be like, you know what, let me put some spare tires and stuff like that.
That part I could see.
Which is a lot of people's story probably, but it just, to hear it from someone like that, to me, was really cool to hear.
And I think what's interesting about that is the fact that he came from basically just trying to do it to like, hey, I've been driving professionally for a number of years now.
That is very cool to hear a story like that, to kind of just see his progression to where he's at now and kind of still stick to his motto, which is have fun and enjoy, which, that's what, you as a car enthusiast yourself kind of have that too. Like, you should just be having fun while you're doing this and not make it so.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think the hard part is that when your hobby and your passion become, I don't want to say work. It's not work for them because like he has a job, but like when it becomes work, you tend to get into a different mindset. So 100%. It's hard to stay in that, have fun. But I get it. I mean, to me, just being around things that are car related make me happy.
No, that's dope. Yeah, and same for me. Like for me, it's like I'm getting to the point where, especially I told you this, when I go to events and stuff like that, it gets really exciting. And to be able to do that as a job is really cool.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
yeah, that's it.
That's right.
It. We're gonna get out of here because that's what we do right around this time. We get out of here.
So make sure you tune in every Wednesday. We'll be here at 3 p.m. Eastern time, as well as my man goes live here at 2 p.m. every Wednesday as well. Basically answer any question that you want to get answered. And Friday we drop a content just for you guys. This week we're doing a car walk around of our friend from High Speed Motorsport, Hugh Stewart.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in.
We'll catch you next week.
There it is.